Somewhere beneath your feet, right now, there is a cutting. Not a metaphor, not history as abstraction. An actual trench carved through solid English rock, 50 feet deep in places, hacked out by hand, by men who had never seen a machine capable of doing what their bodies did instead. Men who moved mountains with shovels and black powder in sheer desperate need. Men who slept in mud, who drank themselves numb on Saturday nights because Sunday was the only morning the foreman couldn't touch them. Men who died in tunnel collapses and were buried so fast their families never knew exactly where. Men whose names appear nowhere in the official record of the greatest infrastructure project Britain ever produced. You are going to meet one of them today. You are going to feel the weight of the shovel. You are going to stand at the edge of a tunnel mouth in the dark and understand what it cost a human body to go inside. You are going to watch the locomotive pass, gleaming, celebrated, surrounded by cheering crowds and newspaper reporters and men in tall hats raising glasses. And you are going to notice the one thing every painting and every official account leaves out. The men who built it are not in the crowd. They are already 3 miles up the line, digging the next one. This is not a story about railways. Railways are what got built. This is a story about what got spent to build them, about who paid the real price for the age of steam, about the Irish fathers and the displaced farmers and the desperate men who turned up at a camp in the middle of an English field with nothing but a strong back and a need to eat, and were handed a shovel and told that survival was now a matter of personal initiative. Stay with this, because by the end, you will understand something about progress that the history books forgot to include. You are a navvy now. They call you a navvy, short for navigator, a word left over from the canal building era, applied now to you and the 100,000 men like you building railways across Britain in the 1840s. It is not a term of respect. When you walk into a village to buy bread, women pull their children inside. Landlords bolt their doors. The local newspaper calls your kind a plague. You are used to this. You came from County Mayo in Ireland 2 years ago when the potato crop failed for the 2nd consecutive season and the choice became brutally simple. Leave or watch your family disappear. You walk to the coast, you cross the water with nothing except the address of a labour contractor in Lancashire that a man in your village had written on a scrap of paper before he left the year before and never wrote home again. The contractor put you to work within a day of arriving. No contract, no written terms. A daily rate agreed verbally, 3 shillings on good days, less when the foreman decides the work wasn't satisfactory, which happens often enough that you've learned to stop arguing about it. Arguing costs you the next day's work entirely. Your tools are a shovel, a wheelbarrow, and a thing called a grafting tool for breaking compacted earth. That's it. No machinery assists you. The steam engine that will eventually run on this railway cannot help build it. Every cubic foot of earth moved between here and Birmingham moves through your hands first. Today you are working a deep cutting through a limestone ridge in Northamptonshire. The foreman wants 40 feet removed. Not today, over weeks. But today, your section needs 3 feet of progress, and the limestone is fighting back. You work in a line with 11 other men, picks and shovels rising and falling in a rhythm that isn't coordinated exactly, but has found its own cadence through exhaustion. You load spoil into barrows. The barrow runs are planked wooden ramps running up the side of the cutting at steep angles. A man called a barrow runner, sometimes you on rotation, wheels a loaded barrow up that plank, while a horse on a rope above provides tension assistance. If your grip fails, if the plank is wet, if the horse misreads the signal, the barrow comes back down the plank and it brings you with it. 3 men have gone down the plank, run this month. 1 broke his arm, 1 broke both. 1 didn't get up. There was no compensation. There was no inquiry. There was a brief pause, a body removed, and the foreman marking the dead man's name off a list. You went back to digging. Not because you didn't feel it, because the barrow doesn't fill itself. At night, you return to the camp. Calling it a camp is generous. It is a collection of huts built from whatever materials were close: earth, turf, salvaged timber, canvas when canvas was available. It moves when the railway moves, following the line of construction across the countryside, like a slow traveling wound. Whatever village sits nearest tolerates it because the local economy needs the spending and resents the disruption simultaneously. Inside the hut, you share with 9 other men. There are no beds. There are boards raised slightly off the ground and whatever you brought to sleep on. The contractor runs a truck shop, a camp store, where you can buy food and drink against your wages. The prices are higher than a town shop. You have no transport to reach a town shop. This is not coincidence. The beer is cheaper than the food. This is also not coincidence. Saturday night, the camp is loud and occasionally violent. Not because these are violent men by nature, but because violence is what happens when men with no power, no privacy, no domestic life, and no future they can see, clearly drink enough to stop thinking about the tunnel they have to enter on Monday morning. Sunday is quiet. Some men pray. Some men write letters home, or have letters written for them by the one man in the camp who reads. Some men simply sit outside the hut and look at the English countryside, green, indifferent, belonging to someone else entirely, and rest their hands on their knees and breathe air that doesn't taste of limestone dust. It is the only morning the world cannot ask anything of them. It lasts until dawn on Monday. The tunnel is a different category of experience entirely. You have worked open cuttings, embankments, viaduct foundations, all of it hard, none of it like this. The tunnel mouth is a rough arch of brick and darkness, and the darkness goes back further than your lamp can reach. The air inside is used air. The men working deepest in the heading have breathed it, and the oxygen thins as you go further in. Candles gutter. Your head aches by mid-morning every morning. The blasting crews work the rock face with black powder charges. They drill holes by hand. Hammer and chisel, slow and deafening. Pack the charge. Clear the heading. Blow it. Then back in through the smoke to clear the spoil before the dust settles, because settled time costs money. You breathe the smoke. You breathe the dust. You breathe whatever 1,000 pounds of exploding black powder leaves in an enclosed space. Some men develop a cough that never leaves. Some men's eyesight begins to fail from the constant dim and strain. One morning a charge misfires. Not unlit, not failed, but delayed. And 3 men are back inside the heading when it goes. The tunnel swallows the sound. By the time the dust clears enough to see, there is nothing useful that can be done, and everyone understands this immediately. The heading foreman marks 3 names off his list. The drilling starts again within the hour. The day the train comes through. The line opens on a Thursday in September. There are speeches. There is a brass band. The local newspaper sends a reporter who writes about the miracle of modern engineering and the triumph of British industry and the glorious age of steam connecting city to city, shrinking distance, binding the nation together. The locomotive is polished to a shine that reflects the crowd back at itself. Dignitaries board the first carriage. A ribbon is cut. The crowd cheers. You are not there. You are 4 miles up the line, in a field outside a village whose name you haven't learned yet, digging the foundation trench for a viaduct embankment. The next contract started 3 days after the last one finished, because 3 days was all you could afford to stop. Somewhere behind you, faint enough to be imagined, you might hear the whistle. The first locomotive running the line you built, running over the cuts you dug and the tunnels you breathed inside, and the embankments you raised barrow load by barrow load through 2 English winters. You don't stop digging. The whistle if it was ever real, fades. The shovel goes back into the earth. What was left behind by 1850, over 6,000 miles of railway track across Britain. The country is transformed. Goods move in hours that once took days. Cities connect. Industries scale. The modern world accelerates into being. The Navvies who built it, estimated at over 250,000 men across the building decades, largely vanish from the record. Some settled. Some moved to railway work in France, in India, in America, carrying their shovels to the next project and the next. Some drank themselves into early graves in the camps. Some made it home, whenever home still existed to return to. None of them were in the painting commissioned to commemorate the opening of the London to Birmingham Railway. The painting shows the locomotive, the dignitaries, the crowd. The men who made it possible are 3 miles up the line. Still digging, always 3 miles up the line.